Shazam, open sesame. What type of power words do you have? What type of magic spells do you use? What type of incantations do you work in your life? Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a world of full impact mindfulness. And today we're going to talk about words of power. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend, co-host and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
Anapneo! Antiochalatia! I'm learning some magic words myself.
You're learning some magic words. Now, those magic words seem to be in a language I don't understand.
Yes, I don't know what they say. There's a lot of phonetics going on because they're on the Harry Potter Wikipedia.
So when we're talking about words of power, Mike, we're talking about making things appear. We're talking about changing things. We're talking about making magic in our lives, are we not?
Absolutely.
However, in our world, when we talk about words of power, we're talking about words that can change yourself, change your thoughts, and change your actions. If you're dissatisfied with your life, if you're dissatisfied with the direction you're going, tell me, Mike, how would it be purposeful for you to speak to yourself in a language that you do not understand?
I think the mystery of the words kind of add to a perceived power, but if you don't understand what those are, like I'm looking at the definitions to find out that this was a water spell and I don't exactly know what that means, then I'm not applying the words appropriately.
If someone knew a method, if someone knew an answer to your issues that would open the door to your life, however, they spoke it in a language that you did not understand, would that be helpful?
It would be like talking to a wall.
So when we're talking about words of power, Mike, we're talking about words you say to yourself. So the idea here is let's learn how to speak to ourselves in a language that we understand.
A language that actually does hold power instead of sounds fancy.
So the power words that we've often talked about in Fishing Without Bait and having the beginner's mind in full impact mindfulness are I choose and I am. I choose and I am. If you think back, Mike, we've talked about that the last and most powerful power that a human being possesses is the power of free will and the power of choice. I believe that you remember when we speak about that often, do we not?
Absolutely.
And how often do people say what they are not rather than what they are?
They're subtractive instead of additive.
So we're talking about the power of yes. We're talking about the power of I can. We're talking about the power of I will. Our minds tend to drift toward negative outcomes, Mike, and these come from the thalamus and the amygdala. These are old brain type of activities, old brain parts of us that were derived from caveman times when we constantly had to be hypervigilant. We constantly had to look out for the dangers in our lives. These have been hardwired into our brains over millions of years. However, due to the magic of neuroplasticity, we can create these new brainwaves. As we often talk about, Mike, one of the most powerful things that we have is our own voice and hearing that voice. If you think back, we've often talked about the first time that we heard our recorded voice being played back to us. How did it sound to you, Mike?
Strange and alien.
It sounds strange. However, whose voice is that?
It's your own.
So it is your own. And keeping with that, would it be productive and beneficial to become more comfortable with the way that you speak? To hear your own voice, to say the words out loud. So quite often in therapy sessions, I ask people to say the words. Say the words out loud.
It's a point of self-awareness, right?
It's a point of self-awareness when you can hear those words out in the air rather than ruminating inside of your head.
I think sometimes you don't feel like a person that can say that and mean it.
Say more about that, Mike.
I think it's about self-perception, right? You don't see yourself because you're thinking those negative thoughts, those caveman brain ideas and negativity, and you don't see yourself as a person who can, have that positive outlook on things, right? Those positive words sound alien coming out of your mouth, and your view of yourself is not that person.
Indeed. So if a friend came to you, Mike, and they were feeling poorly, they were feeling bad, they were feeling negative, they were having serious self-doubts, low self-esteem issues, how would you speak to them? Would you offer them encouragement and support?
Yes.
Would you ask them to check the facts about their life? Would you ask them to convince you? Convince me that you're no good. Convince me that you'll never succeed.
No, you talk about all the things that are going their way, that are in the positive. Look on the bright side, we say often.
And in our particular world, I'm going to refer back to these as challenge podcasts yet again. So often I challenge people out there, convince yourself that you can't succeed. Convince me that you'll never be any good at anything. I don't think you'd be able to do that. I don't think you'd be able to convince me. So you wouldn't say, oh, you're right, you will never succeed. We're right. Why even try? Because you are a failure. You wouldn't say that to your friend, would you?
No, and it just rolls into that defeatist attitude and you go further down into the abyss.
And the idea is that if you would not say these words to a friend, and those are fear words, those are negative words, you wouldn't use those to a friend.
No.
And once again, I'm going to ask you, help me understand the reason that you would say these to yourself. We're talking about making yourself your friend. So how often do we spend time by ourselves? We spend a majority of our lives really alone, do we not?
Absolutely.
When we sleep, when we're at night, when we're at work, we're often alone. We're not conversing and interacting with people constantly.
So you have to fill that void with the conversation in your head.
You fill the void with the conversation in your head. So when we talk about fear words, when we talk about hate, when we talk about sadness, when we talk about anger, when we talk about all the fear words, remember our last episode when we talked about Surf's Up. We talked about rather than measuring life in waves of happiness and joy, we measure it in increments of fear. So those fear words send alarm messages throughout your brain. They put you into hypervigilance. They put you into action. They send the cortisol throughout your body, which leads to depression and anxiety. The idea is that I'm going to ask people to institute, to incorporate those words of power into your life. The I can, I will, I choose, I am. I'd love everybody to get up in the morning and say these words out loud. It may seem silly, and it's no concern to me. However, I choose to wear these socks. I choose to wear this shirt. Say the words out loud. Get used to the sound of your own voice. Get used to making choices. Replace those old pathways with new ones. And when we stop using those negative words, when we stop using the self-defeating words, the shoulds, the have-tos, the need-tos, the musts, when we stop using those words and we look at ourselves, are you causing yourself shame? Are you causing yourself fear? It's not situations or events that have the impact in your life. It's how you perceive them. It's your judgment of them. And when you're judging situations, when you have your perceptions, are you not talking to yourself about that, Mike?
Absolutely.
That's what your thoughts are. It's talking to yourself. Use those words of power. I choose. I am. I will. And replace the no words with yes.
And once again, it's a conscious choice to notice what you're doing and trying to flip that one little bit at a time and one little piece of the puzzle of the whole concept that we talk about in these podcasts.
One little piece of the puzzle. And again, it's simple. We don't want to overcomplicate things. The power of your own voice, the power of your words, the power of your perception and that beginner's mind. And we're going to end again, and we are going to end this podcast, Mike, with one of our favorite phrases, and that's abracadabra. People don't believe magic exists. You make magic inside your own mind. Abracadabra. It conjures up in their mind magic and making something appear, a rabbit in a hat, a lady out behind a curtain, an elephant disappearing. Abracadabra. For those who may be appearing and popping into our podcasts, abracadabra is an ancient Aramaic word from the Bible, Jesus' time, and it translates roughly into what I speak, I create. What I speak, I create. Please consider that you're making magic inside your own head by what you say. What I speak, I create. Speak kindly to yourself. Make some magic in your own life. Make some magic in the life of others. Namaste until we speak again.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. Fishing Without Bait is a production of Namaste Holistic Counseling, PC.